morning to madams and all my fellow friends. So I'm Hank Kim, and today I would like to introduce about the title Instrument of Foreign Policy, which is Economy and Propaganda. So first of all, I would like to ask, what is foreign policy? Foreign policy is a plan and basically is developed by the decision makers of a state as a guidelines for the state leader in handling the international affairs. So with the different resources and ideology and personalities of leader, they will cause a lot of different foreign policy. Okay, when we talk about foreign policy, it will come to foreign policy analysis. So, and what again about foreign policy analysis? Foreign policy analysis will be the field of study of decision makers for process, factors, and also cost and so on. So basically, it's study about how a foreign policy was made. Okay, so there are three levels of foreign policy analysis, which is individual level, state level, and also system level. Okay, next. So when we come to instruments, since the foreign policy was so important to a state, there are few instruments to be used to carry out the progress operation of the foreign policy. So there are two instruments I would like to introduce to you. There was propaganda and economy. Economy and military will commonly as known as the soft power and the hard power of a country. So economy as a soft power and military will be the hard power. And these two instruments will be say that it's the most important for a state to decide their foreign policy. Okay, these two instruments will determine the power of a state on global relations. Like United States, United States have a very strong soft power like economy and also military power, hard power. Okay, and the soft power, they use these two power to influence the other state decisions. So when we back to another propaganda, beside that, propaganda was mostly used to influence the public through the spreading words and also certain picture. So we can find commonly propaganda will be used during wartime. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, I bid to Dr. Norafida. My name is Putri Solihah binti Izansha and my metric number is 270814. After Helton explaining the introduction of propaganda and economy, now I'm going deeper into propaganda. We are going to talk about three things in propaganda, which are what is propaganda, the history of propaganda, and the importance of propaganda. What is propaganda? Propaganda are usually brought by propagandists who use propaganda to achieve their specific goals. Propagandists are usually use facts and arguments to influence the listener. They think that facts and arguments are the most effective way in influencing other people. Secondly, propaganda contains misleading nature. Misleading nature can give different impression on the listener based on opinion regarding the things. If the propagandists manage to influence the listener, then their behavior and attitude towards some opinion will be changed, like their previous opinion will change to a new one after they are being influenced. Thirdly, deliver messages through variety of materials such as paintings, poster, and social media. But social media are used in the modern propaganda. Mostly, paintings and posters were used during the World War times. Later on, I will explain a little bit more on how paintings and posters were used during the wartime. Next, people allowing propaganda to lead. According to Jacques Ellul, most people are an easy prey for propaganda. This is because they are easily influenced by lies and told stories. Lastly, propaganda referred as a psychological warfare. This is because propaganda were used to exchange national interest during war times. I will talk more about propaganda and how propaganda works during war. Okay, now we are moving to the history of propaganda. Propaganda are actually rooted from the Catholic Church. Actually, propaganda were being used by Pope Urban II to gain support for the Crusades. As time goes by, propaganda becomes stronger and most powerful tool all around the world. Next, the birth of the literacy propagates. After decades, more people are becoming literate and interested in their national affair, so that makes them want to spread their power to other countries. For example, the propaganda of India rebellion that happened in the 1800s. The Englishman accused the Indian man for raping the English woman. They want to show how bad is Indian attitude and believe that Indian cannot rule their own country if they are less civilized. This reinforce of the white man's burden and make Englishmen dominate India. Lastly, global conflicts give propaganda new power. World War I formalized propaganda production. For example, British propaganda was considered effective because British managed to persuade United States to join the war. This propaganda was studied by Adolf Hitler, who were inspired by it and managed to make Germany as an unbeatable country. The first importance of propaganda is as a tool for changing opinion. Basically, propaganda can control the opinion. Propagandists will make new stories explanation to make the listeners accept the new opinion. For example, a German artist make a medal to commemorate the sinking of Lusitania ship to show how cruel German is when they thinking that the ship brings weapon for the Allied forces. When British found out about it, they make thousands of medals and distribute it all around the world to show how cruel German was. The second importance is as a tool in achieving goals. The propagandists will manipulate the mind of crowds. With a lot of support, they will succeed in achieving their goals. For example, the slogan of Asia for the Asian. Japan got a lot of support from the Asian because they thought that Japan is the defender of the East countries. With this propaganda, Japan got a lot of support and succeed in achieving their goals, which is to become the big power in Asia. The third importance is changing the behavior of the targeted audience. Propaganda can form the behavior or attitude of a people. Misleading information are more effective way in changing people's behavior and people's attitude. According to Bengler, communication were made to manipulate the targeted people in order to change their behavior or attitude. The fourth one is as a national security. It is to defend the country from getting weaker. The propaganda convinced the people that joined a war will be appreciated. For example, the posters that British made. It showed a face of Lord Kitchener with his scary mustache and his finger pointed out, "Your country needs you." That means that the British people need their men to work hard in defending their country. The last importance is influencing the news. During that time, media are very helpful, such as newspaper, radio, and television. This is because during war, newspaper is the most trusted media for the people. Newspaper provide all information that they needed during that time. For example, Wellington House were established by British to counter their enemy's statement. Wellington House published their own newspaper to gain sympathy from the people and distributed the newspaper all around the world for the people to see and become sympathy for the British.
So, it's me again. After my friend have explained about propaganda as an instrument of foreign policy, again I will bring you a case study example to understand clearly about propaganda. So, as all we know, propaganda was commonly used to influence the public mindset, and North Korea was very, very famous in this action. So, as all we know, North Korea is an absolute monarchy kingdom, and liberalism thought and socialism was strictly forbidden. So, in order to control their people, government of North Korea create a lot of agenda and how liberalism and socialism will bring doom to their state. This is how anti-American propaganda came from. With the media controlled by North Korea, the government only spread the message they want. Since the citizen at a young age, their surrounding environment was full with the propaganda. For the example, one of the tools to use for anti-American was the Sinchon Museum of American atrocities in Sinchon. So this museum was created to explain how the tragic incidents happened on the land of North Korea due to the United States. It stated that United States and South Korea army massacre almost roughly 30,000 lives of the North Korea, but actually there was no any record about this massacre. It's just a technique, it's just a propaganda that used by Kim family to control their people. Okay, besides this, there are still many propaganda we can find on North Korea, not only anti-America, but almost every opposition of Kim family were described as very horror and very ugly. Okay, so in this case, we can normally find that propaganda was commonly used during the wartime, because this is because it is most effective and efficient way to influence the foreign affairs. Okay, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm Muhammad Safwan bin Muhammad Kasim, matrix number 271188. Okay, so now we would like to discuss our next subtopic, which is about economy. Okay, so now I would like to explain more about our objective regarding the economies. Okay, first of all, what is economy? Economy can be say as a relationship between a trade, supply of money, or a productions that not only occur in one particular countries but it involve others country too. And we can see how an economy influence most of the country in terms of globals. Okay, so economy can be divided into two particular terms, which is national economy and a global economy. Not only that, economy also used as an investment in foreign policy in the aspect of military, diplomatic, and in the terms of economic. Okay, so we just back to the historical how an economy has been formed. Okay, so economy has been started during the third year, which is happened after a world war, which is include the World War One, World War Two, and the War of Greece. So after this war happens, most of the countries start to be independent and start to form their own economic globals on that particular times, and that's how nowadays most of the country has grown up as a huge economy and influence other country too. Okay, moving on to next, I would like to discuss the second objective, which is the importance of economy. As we know, economy play an important role in developing countries, and it can be seen through the national status, the university harmonies, and the good relationship between other country. So there are some importance of economy in the global. One of that is the sharing of resources, especially in the raw materials and the energy sources. As we know, some of the countries do not have the energy or capability to involve in the economy. In foreign policy, it has been intent to protect the national investments in the both, which is the nationalities and the world stage. So to avoid the disaster affecting the countries, some of the countries have to release others foreign countries to obtain more resources from affecting their own countries. As an example, we can take Japan. We know that Japan has a high technology intakes um, compared to most of the country, especially in Asian country. But Japan still demand for oil and petroleum from other countries, especially in the Asian countries. Besides, the important is to enhance the sharings and the transfers of technologies. The foreign policies of the countries emphasize and enable the transfers of technologies from abroad to a developed countries, and it can be seen in the various fields such as agriculture, marine tourism, industrial, and what so on. This is because it can help to stabilize the countries at the same time to strengthen the foreign policies. For instance, we can see most of these countries, such as Malaysia, has bring in the high technologies from Japan to help in improve the countries and the status that needs to increase the levels of technologies in the countries. Moreover, the important is capital sharings, where a countries control their habits in enhancing economic stabilities. Therefore, in establish a foreign policy in the form of economics deficits or a capital problem by one country, it can be accommodated or addressed by other countries, either from governments or private sectors. For examples, ASEAN has launched a new strategies by sign up in AFTA, and this helped to create a single markets and a regional production centers, as well as a platform for investments to come up in these countries. Last of the importance of the economy is market expansions and the trades between countries. This enables a countries to expand their goods and their service markets to other regions and countries by cooperating among each others. The benefit that we can get is increase the trades not only within the countries but also involve overseas. Okay, for example, ASEAN has adopted strict foreign policies of not interference in their affairs, which is include their members of countries. And the discussions are more focused on the trades and the relationships between the countries among the ASEANs. Okay, moving on to our next objective, which is how economy play a tool in a foreign policy. Okay, first of all, economy play a tool in terms of foreign aids. What is foreign aids? Okay, foreign aid is a transfer capital or an international service from international countries that help the recipients countries and its people. Okay, so this assistance can be provided in a few terms, which is militaries, economics, and the emergencies humanitarians, and it also can be form of loans and the grant assistance. So one of the objectives of the foreign aid is counting the terrorism, reducing poverty, and promoting stability in conflicts the regions. Okay, so back to one of the issues, which is in 1990, Peru was one of the countries that has changed the foreign policies with the intentions of allowing regions missionaries in the countries to speak in prisons them upon arrival. But however, this has been settled out smoothly by the foreign aids, and now the foreign policy has been smooth. Okay, next is sanction. Sanction is economic restriction that withdrawal of trades and financials aimed at foreign policy and securities, and it also can be a penalty for disobeying rules and regulations. Okay, this sanction can be used as a purpose of furthering the foreign policy's objective, that including the controversies, diplomacy, terrorism, and the promotion of human rights as well as resolutions of the conflicts. Okay, so for example, back in August 1990s, the UN Security Council has imposed sanctions against the Iran, and the restrictions was made by not allowing the military use. Moreover, the use of economy as a tool of foreign policy is an embargo. Okay, embargo is due to a diplomatic, political, and economy relations between countries that involved. Okay, so there are three types of embargo, which is a trade embargo, a strategic embargo, and a signatory embargoes. However, most of the embargo will fail and is endangers. Okay, so for example, back to the issues of Russia, some of the Western countries try to change the Russian federal policies that through various of restorations in the form of economy, and it is because they want to change and or replace the presidents. At the same time, they want to undermining the Russia's economy, but unfortunately that didn't work, and now the federation has run as usual. Okay, last but not least is the trade restrictions. The trade restriction, also known as a government policies that will limit the free flow of goods and services across the borders of the nations. At the same time, it also will restrict the foreign trades to protect the domestic product from any other foreign competitions. Okay, so the trade restriction, also known as the tariff, which is form of tax, quotas, and the sanitaries. Okay, the benefit of this is to protect consumer from potentially hazardous product. Okay, so one of the example is we can do a Malaysian, which is banned to import any of the product from Israel due to the Islam benefits and the harmonies of the countries from import or import any other product from Israel and support it. Okay, as a conclusion, we can say that economy not only play an important role in the national, but it also play an important role in the global as well as the world stage. So that's all from me. Thank you so much.
Hello, it's me again, Hancock Kim. After my friend Safwan has explained about the economy as an instrument of foreign policy, and today I will bring you an example. So this example will be the current issue, trade war between United States and China during 2018. So this trade war began with the President Donald Trump claims that China was practicing trade unfairly, and soon he decided to declare launching trade war on China. So the first move of US was impose taxes on washing machine and also solar panel from China, which will increase their cost in exporting to US. Soon, almost 1,300 goods from China were placed into the watch list that considering adding tariffs. So, but as all we know, China as the second largest economic body will not easily stand down. China started to impose tariffs on US goods also for roughly 25% from their original price. US suffered a big loss from agriculture sectors, which especially soybean sectors, because China was the largest importer of US soybean, and US can't bear with this risk. Soon, US claimed to hold up a war against China and asked China to import their soybean as soon as possible. But once China has agreed with the trade, US again suddenly imposed 25% of tariffs on all Chinese technologies industry. From this scenario, we can easily find that China and United States both want to influence each other through their soft power, their economic power. And this show how importance of economy as the instrument of the foreign policy.
In conclusion, propaganda and economy must be used wisely so that we can avoid from conflict or tragedy that might be happen in the future. Thank you.